Alright folks, it is time once again for our patented, this may or may not be satire, UFC predictions. We got UFC 203 coming out of Cleveland in a couple of days, and obviously, injuries happen all the time. So the final fight card could indeed change quite a bit by the time this video is posted and when the event actually happens. But by and large, this is what we're expecting to happen, and if it changes, that's the universe. Alright, pretty interesting card. I mean, it's probably not the most stacked we've had all year round, but there's some very, very interesting matchups on the main card. Starting off with the main event with the heavyweight champion Stipe Miocic taking on Overeem. And when you think about this fight, you kind of boil it down. This is like one of the more improbable championship fights we've had in the UFC in a really, really long time. Because if you look at where these fighters were 2 years ago, I mean, Stipe Miocic, he's getting drummed on by Junior Dos Santos. I mean, Overeem, he was losing fights to dudes like Ben Rothwell. I mean, just getting stomped by gatekeepers. So the fact that both these guys have gone on to have so much success after that, I think Overeem, he's like on a 4-fight winning streak. He's knocking dudes out, just flatlining guys. And Miocic obviously beat Werdum, so that's a huge, huge thing for him. And it's a pretty interesting matchup. Trying to see. Obviously, Overeem was going to have the weight advantage. Height pretty much even. Reach, the only major physical variable I think is Overeem has a little bit better leg range, and the dude can kick. But we'll see what happens out of that. But when you look at this fight, and we got to go back to the last heavyweight championship fight before we talk about this one. If Stipe Miocic fought Fabricio Werdum 10 times in a row, I think it stands to reason that 9 out of those fights would have gone to Werdum. Werdum, he's just a better fighter. I mean, all the way around, he has better boxing. He's definitely a better wrestler. Has better takedown skills. Just an overall better fighter. What happened in that fight, and it happened in Brazil, is that Werdum went in there, and he has a very solid game plan. Remember, this is a dude who absolutely just crushed Cain Velasquez, so he's legit. So he has a very, very methodical approach. He's one of those guys where he's basically an alligator fighter, which is where he kind of peppers you up top, then he drags you down, takes you to the bottom of the ocean, and then just takes all the life out of you. That's his strategy. That's how he wins fights. That's how he beat Faber. That's how he beat Werdum. That's how he's beat everybody of note that he's beaten by doing that. Oh, it's how he beat Cain Velasquez, obviously. And just heading into that, you kind of stand to reason that what happened was Werdum in that fight, not really taking his opponent seriously, and he got thrown off his game plan. Stipe kind of lulled him into a knockdown, drag-out fight, which is always a dumb thing to do because all it takes is one lucky hit and you go down. And I think that's what happened. I think Werdum got tagged. He got into a wild exchange that he probably was not adequately prepared for. And as Joe Rogan infamously remarked, he paid for it with his consciousness. So I think, Miocic, I mean, he's a good fighter and all, but he's not really that versatile. I mean, there are a whole lot more dynamic fighters in the heavyweight division. And probably one of the most diverse, Overeem. Dude's been fighting forever, going back to Pride. Oh, goodness, got something in my throat. Just nostalgia, thinking about Pride. Going back to Pride. Had fights in Reem, had fights in Strikeforce, and of course he's been fighting in the UFC as of late. And for the UFC, it's really kind of been a mixed bag for Overeem. Oh goodness. I thought I was going to start the video all over again, my bad. But anyway, you look at Overeem when he's doing the UFC, it's really a mixed bag. I mean, he's had fights where he looked great, like the one against Brock Lesnar, and he's had other fights where he just looked like he was a dude that was past his prime. But like I said, in the last 4 fights, he's really topped up his game. So unless he's doing steroids or something, I think he's really in peak position to go in here and win this fight. And, I could rattle off the significant strikes per minute. I can rattle off their defensive notes. I can talk about their takedown average, their takedown defense. All that, I can. But here's the thing. Overeem, he knows how to win this fight. He's not going to get in there and get into a wild exchange. That's not how he fights. It's real simple. He closes the gap, he steps away, range, closes the gap, range. I mean, it's like watching, a dude play Ken in Street Fighter 2. I mean, it's a flow chart. It's hurricane kick, fireball, hurricane kick, fireball. And for Overeem, it's get in close, step away, kick. Get in close, pound, kick. And that's how he wins fights. Because it's really hard to kind of neutralize that when you got a dude that big, and a dude that tall, and a guy that really is that effective, in the middle of the cage and against the wall. And I think Miocic, his goal is to knock him out in the first round and get out before anyone notices that he's fighting. And that's not going to happen. I think Overeem's going to go in there and he's going to play very, very strategic. He's going to go in there with his one-step, two-step onslaught. And I think he's going to wear Miocic down. And neither of these guys are really known for having gas tanks, but I think Overeem has a slightly better one. And the fact that I would ever be saying that Alistair Overeem has a superior gas tank to anybody is just as shocking to me as it is you. But I think Overeem, he's going to control the tempo, and I think he eventually airs Miocic down. It becomes a ground battle, and I think that's when Overeem just unloads the hammer fists. And this thing is over and done with by stoppage, round 3. We got a new UFC Heavyweight Champion, Alistair Overeem. And I'll have to double check this, but I'm pretty sure that would make him the first person in the history of MMA to ever hold a Strikeforce Championship belt and a UFC Championship belt in the heavyweight division. That has to be true. There's no way that can't be true, but double check it for me. All right, so moving on. Really interesting co-main event. I think obviously whoever wins this fight should take on Cain Velasquez. But I think whoever wins this fight is probably maybe one fight away from a title shot as well. Fabricio Werdum against Travis Browne. And Travis Browne, besides looking just like Johnny Hendricks, you saw him against Cain Velasquez where he got that one really good shot in, and then he just got killed. And Werdum, obviously, he's upset because he went off his game plan and lost against Miocic. And Travis Browne, I think he's kind of an overrated fighter, to be honest. I mean, yeah, I know he's with Ronda Rousey, so he's going to have a spot on the roster. And, I mean, he's got some pretty good knockouts. I mean, we've seen him do it before. But, just overall, I just think he's just not very diverse. Doesn't have much of a ground game. Terrible cardio. Just, he's the epitome of a gatekeeper at this point, where he can beat, like, half the guys on the roster, but then you take that next level up in competition, can't do anything. And Werdum is definitely that level above. This is not Roy Nelson. This is not, who else in the heavyweight division is not really worth a toot. This is not Derek Lewis. Or is Derek Lewis good now? I can't recall. He may have gotten better. And Werdum, like I said, I mean, he's just a very, very diverse fighter. Probably the most diverse fighter in the heavyweight division because he can beat you so many ways. Great boxing. Great submissions. Very good takedown defense. And I think Travis Browne goes in there trying to land that knockout home run shot in the first. He's not going to get it. Verdum's going to wear him down, and I think we end this one with a submission early in the second. Werdum wins it. How's he going to win, though? I want to say it's like some fluky submission we haven't really seen in a while. I got him winning by Darce choke. Just, you don't see that enough. All right, and we come to a fight where I could really do an entire video about this. But I'll just try to keep it very brief because I think there's not much to it as an actual fight that you can analyze and predict and prognosticate. A long, long time ago, I said, and you can find the video on this channel, that CM Punk deserved to be signed by the UFC. And I did that just out of sheer marketing, because I'm not saying that's good for the sport. I'm not saying he deserves a spot above Uriah Faber on a pay-per-view. But I mean, just as a one-and-done freak show fight. I mean, who doesn't want to watch CM Punk get the crap beat out of him? I mean, it's a guy where he's 36 years old, and, he comes in there with annoying politics, and, he's straight edge. I'm straight edge too, but still, I mean, he's just a very annoying guy. And he's a wrestler trying to go into a legitimate sport. And this is not a dude who's like Brock Lesnar. It's not Bobby Lashley or even Albert Del Rio. Not Albert, is it Alberto Del Rio? My bad. Definitely not Kazushi Sakuraba, where the guy has like a legitimate combat sports background. I mean, we don't even know if CM Punk's ever actually been in a schoolyard fight. So he's coming in here taking on Mickey Gall, who, from what I've observed so far, is a really, really sort of diverse, very well-instructed, very technical guy. He's won all his fights by submission, rear naked choke, as fate would have it. And CM Punk is a dude who made a living pretending to beat up The Undertaker. Mickey Gall is going to win this fight. I mean, that's not a question. You can get into where you go from there. But it's going to be interesting. CM Punk, I mean, for me, really the only surprising thing about this fight is what his entrance music is going to be. Is he going to come out to AFI like he did in Ring of Honor? Is he going to come out to Cult of Personality? I mean, that's really the only thing to look forward to, because once that cage door sounds, Punk is going to get the crap knocked out of him. I mean, open up the bank account, my kid's 401k, take it out, I'll give you all my blood, whatever you need, and put it on the line. Mickey Gall is going to win this fight. And in fact, if I were really, really betting on it, I would just kind of try to find the over-under for how long CM Punk lasts. If this guy makes it more than 2 minutes in the cage, I'll eat a hat. I'll do something utterly ridiculous and preposterous on the internet, because Gall's going to win this one. CM Punk, it's an interesting story, and I like it just for the entertaining element of it. It's very Pride-like. It has elements of Dream FC. But you go back and you watch the old Pride shows where you have, Fedor Emelianenko fighting like all these guys, like these wrestlers from New Japan. They got destroyed. I mean, absolutely just carved up. And CM Punk, like Joseph Stalin and like Kennedy, he's about to be history. Mickey Gall wins this one, rear naked choke, not only in the first round, probably in the first minute of the fight. And CM Punk, he announced his retirement. He learned his lesson. He's not a real athlete. Time to go back to fighting in the Indies. And good luck to him. Uriah Faber against Jimmy Rivera. Boy, if you're one of these fighters, you've got to be really upset that a pro wrestler with no amateur fights whatsoever is above you on the card, but neither here nor there. Jimmy Rivera, he's a really talented dude. He's got a lot of significant strikes landed per minute. Very good takedown defense. Not very good with submissions. And Uriah Faber, you look at the guy, and he's in such a bad predicament, right? Because he's really, really good. He's like one of the best bantamweight fighters on the planet. But there's such an astronomical leap up when you get into dominant cruise territory. And Faber, he probably beat everybody in the bantamweight division with the exception of maybe like 2 or 3 guys. And I expect Faber to beat Jimmy Rivera. He's going to beat him by, 3rd round submission. It just sounds good to me. A lot of submissions tonight. But he's never going to get that next step. There's going to be like something fluky happen where a guy gets injured, so he gets called up for a 135 title shot. But he's going to feel bad for the guy. You want him to win at least one UFC title at some weight class. And hopefully he's still kind of youngish. He's definitely boiling down in his old age. But, you never know. If Dan Henderson can be fighting for the UFC middleweight title at age 45, then who knows? Maybe Uriah Faber, he'll win the bantamweight championship when he's 40. Stranger things have happened. But yeah, Jimmy Rivera, good fighter, but Uriah Faber's better. Don't need to tell you any more about that. 3rd round submission, Faber wins. All right, and our curtain jerker for the pay-per-view, we've got Jessica Andrade taking on Joanne Calderwood. Honestly, I'm not really familiar with either of these people. Minor height advantage for Joanne. Leg reach advantage for Joanne. Significant strikes landed per minute. Absurd. 6.58 per minute for Andrade and 7.35 for Calderwood. Of course, I was absorbing a lot, like 4.68 and 4.06. 4.06 for Andrade, 4.68 for Calderwood. So yeah, don't expect a lot of defense in this one. They're going to go in there, they're going to punch each other, and the first person to go down will probably legitimately go down. Calderwood, really, really great takedown defense. She stuck everything that's been thrown at her during her UFC tenure. I don't know, it's really kind of up in the air. I think this will probably be one of the more competitive fights on the entire card. I'm going to go with Calderwood decision. I know not a lot of women's fight really make it to decision unless they're absolute drubbings. But I think it should be fairly competitive and give the advantage to Calderwood. All right, I'm just going to plow through the prelims. I'm not even going to give you like any sort of like wise, like analytical observations. I'm just doing it. Jessica against Beche Correa. Wow, haven't heard that name in a while. I'm going to give it to Evil. 2nd round stoppage. Beche really hasn't been the same since she lost to Rousey in like a millisecond. We got Nick Lentz taking on Mirbek Chusamov. I'm not familiar with this other guy, but oh my god, this photo is amazing. If you look at the UFC website, they have like Chusamov looking like all ripped and awesome, and Nick Lentz is like all humped over, like being schlubby. In fact, I'm gonna show this to you because you're gonna want to watch this. Oh, look at that! That is just incredible. I would be so angry if I were Nick Lentz about that. But yeah, anyway, it should be a pretty competitive fight. They have very, very similar criteria. I'm gonna give it to Lentz, a split decision. Alright, Brad Tavares taking on KO Magalhaes. All you need to know is that Magalhaes, his nickname is Hellboy, and he looks like a guy you don't want to see anywhere. A dark alley, a well-lit alley, any kind of alley, watching Ally McBeal. You don't want him anywhere near you. And just looking at the stats real quick. Yeah, he's got really good submissions. He's going to win this fight. Should be an upset. I'm going to give it to Michael Haas, third round stoppage. Ian McCall taking on Ray Borg. Ray Borg's nickname is the Taz Mexican Devil because why not? I'm going to give this to McCall. He's just a better fighter. I mean, don't need to tell you all that. You can just look at the record there. McCall, unanimous decision. Alright, we got Yancy Medeiros taking on Sean Spencer in like the most like fight passy fight that's ever been booked. I'm going to give it to Medeiros by decision. We got Stipe Dalloway taking on Francimir Barrasso. I'm not really familiar with Barrasso, but I'm familiar with Dalloway. So for that, I'm going to give it to Barrasso by decision. We got Drew Dauber taking on Jason Gonzalez, and on the UFC website there's not even a picture of Gonzalez, so that tells you all you need to know. Drew Dauber, decision, and in our opening bout we got Damir Hadzovac taking on Yusuke Kasaya, so it's Bosnia versus Japan, a very, very rare ethnic matchup there. And I don't know, it's a tough one to call because I literally don't know anything about these two guys. For that, I'm going to go with Yusuke Kazuya because he kind of looks like the dude from Ichi the Killer, you know, that great Takashi Miike movie. That's all you really need to know. If you look like famous movie characters in films that I enjoy, you usually win fights, like a 75% win advantage. Unofficial statistic, but it's true. So there you have it. That's UFC 203. I'm anticipating a new world champion. Werdum gets a little bit of redemption, and CM Punk gets flatlined. Take it to the bank. That's all you need to know.